Well, the discussion has already started even before we formally roll out. AM Talk, and already, I guess, for the morning, I have to introduce them. Abraham Amaliba is a member of the NDC's legal team and a member of the NDC's communication team as well. He's here. And thanks for joining me, sir.
Good morning.
I love your outfit.
Thanks.
Very good.
I'll do one for my brother.
Yes, and his brother in the studio this one is Imano Chamanting Ejako. He's a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Walgon constituency, and thanks for joining me, sir.
I am happy to be here.
All right. Now we have to look at the issues that are ongoing, and let's deal with the transportation issue first, because that's what
bread and butter.
Yes, we know that they've declared a nationwide strike, likely to be on Monday, but it's also because of an increment of the insurance premiums they have to pay on their vehicles. But before then, there had been a 15% increment in commercial transport fares as a result of the implementation of the energy sector levy, which has seen a rise in their expenditure on fuel and other petroleum products. What do you make of it, the current situation in the transportation sector as we have it?
Well, Roland, thank you for inviting me, and let me say a good morning to viewers, particularly those in my constituency. I want to say a very good morning to all the students in Legon that have just come back for a new semester. I wish them very well in all the things they do between now and when they go on vacation in May. We are like in a season of strikes, aren't we? We are in a season of protest, a dry season of discontent, I would say. Everybody is discontented in this country. Apart from this, I mean, nurses are threatening to go on strike. There's a strike here, there's a strike there, there's a strike everywhere. And what is the basis of this? I think that the immediate cause is really the straw that breaks the camel's back is the fuel increases. You would ask, what is so different about this country? That in virtually every country in the world, indeed in landlocked countries like Niger, that would have to lift their fuel from either Togo, Cotonou, or from Lomé, or from Accra, or from Abidjan. Even those countries that would have to transport over 1,000 kilometers to distribute, they are all bringing down their prices. For some strange reason, Ghana is the only country that in the midst of the collapse of fuel prices, we are still increasing fuel price. And yesterday I heard that they reduced the price by 2%. I mean, I think that this is patronizing. Fundamental to this is a mismanagement of the economy. They will tell you that we are paying something called the legacy debt. The last time I was here, I said that the government should bring out the profile of that debt. You tell people when the prices were going up, you told people that you will subsidize. You told people that you will pay the under recoveries. You never paid the under recoveries and accumulated the debt. And the worst of it is that there were massive foreign exchange losses. And today you turn around, when the prices have collapsed, you turn around and say that as we shouldn't enjoy the benefits. Okay. Apart from that, they will tell you when you go to the market, when you listen to the drivers. I mean, really and truly, you can only sympathize with them. Yesterday, I heard one of them speak. Yesterday or the day before, I heard one of them speak. He says, I have to go and buy ties. If you go to Abosoka and you see my name in the book, I have bought the ties, I can't pay 800 cedis, I'll pay 400. Fundamental to this again is the fact that our currency just has kept depreciating. And I am not an economist, but a depreciating currency is an index of a very poorly managed economy. So that is what we are saddled with. Insurance. You raise insurance premiums by 300%. Why does this happen? In what what jurisdiction does this happen? So virtually every component in the transport business is faced with increased prices. When you sum it up, what it turns out is that the cost per head necessarily must go up. And that is what is confronting all of us. You know, when you live in a country where you have to pay more for petrol, you have to pay more for electricity, you have to pay more for water, you have to pay more. It translates into paying more for rent, paying more for food, paying more. I mean, certainly, the reasonable man, the Ghanaian that works in the street, my sister that is frying yam, my cousin that is driving the cab.
You think government doesn't realize that? We've been told realistically that we are in dire straits, and it's as a result of excessive debt.
You talk about dire straits. We must begin to interrogate and find out, how did we get here? I think it is fundamental.
Aren't we past that?
No, I don't think so.
Because we've been able to outline and discuss and dissect the various reasons why we're here.
No, I don't think so at all. This situation we are in must have roots in something.
Yes.
The root is a certain incompetence, a certain mismanagement of this economy. That is what has brought us here.
And you're saying that we can't delineate the current situation from where it is.
Oh, no, I mean,
okay.
Come on.
But this is the reality, and we need to take certain steps as a people, and no matter how we tend to look at it.
I don't know. I am not part of the management of the economy. I am only sitting back.
Well, you're a member of parliament. So
yes, I am a legislator.
Somehow, somewhat, you also take part in the governance process.
The day-to-day running of this country. We must clearly understand the constitution we operate. The day-to-day running of this country lies in the bosom of His Excellency the President. As for Parliament, we are supposed to make laws that will help in running this country, number two, and have oversight. If they bring it, and they have the numbers in Parliament, anything, I mean, recently, when they needed to do the income tax amendments, we insisted that what is this 1% on
earnings
and savings from
I mean, basically it's earnings.
Yeah.
So if you save whatever interest that you get from.
Number two, you wanted to raise the withholding tax from 5%. You took it to 15%. One pharmacist called me and said, what is this? I am owed money by National Health Insurance for 8 months. I have not been paid. And then when you want to pay me after 8 months, you are taking 15% out of this? What is this? You know, the elders have a saying that 2 slaps pops out the eye. This is exactly what this government is doing to the good people of this country.
As a member of the NDC's Legal and Communication, does it make it a lot more difficult for you to try to defend or explain some of the reasons why, despite all the things that the opposition may say or critics of government may say, we're still in the situation of being encountered with a lot more increment in taxes in the various sectoral areas?
Let me say good morning to your viewers. I've never found it difficult to defend my party and government when I hear the opposition speak. He made a factual, inaccurate statement that it is only in Ghana that prices are falling down on the international market in terms of crude, and we are increasing it. If I may indulge, you may indulge me. This is Saudi Arabia faces economic bump and hikes gas prices 50%. This was
I read that on CNN the last
This was
night.
January 5th this year. Saudi Arabia is the leading oil producer, and if they have increased their gasoline by 50%, I want to just debunk the statement that while prices are falling, it is only in Ghana that price of crude are increasing. So that is a factual, inaccurate statement. Second inaccurate statement is that our city is not performing well. And that is why some of this increment. Contrary to that, it's rather the reason for which we've had 4%, 2%, and 19% decrease in terms of our petroleum products is because the cedi has gained strength. That's why we're able to reduce the prices of this fuel prices at the pumps. So that's another factual inaccurate statement. The third inaccurate statement is that strikes here, strikes there, meaning that the economy is collapsing. Strikes have been a common feature of every government.
But when they become consistent, it's a cause for worry, is it not?
No.
We just had one convened by organized labor.
I'm saying that it's a permanent feature because normally the relationship between employer and employee is that employees would be looking for better conditions of service, whilst employers will be looking for productivity, higher productivity. So it's a source of conflict. Naturally, those two elements conflict. There will be a conflict where employer is looking for increase in productivity, then employee is looking for increase in salary. These two elements are not bedfellows in any part of the world. They are not bedfellows. So my point is that strikes have been a common feature of every government. Now, to come to the transport owners,
the substantive,
I listen, and if they are going on strike because of the insurance percentage increase, I think they are not being fair. Because I listened to the president yesterday of the GPRTU, and when he was asked, why did you increase it to 15%? The increment in their fares. He catalogued the components, ties, abotokai, what and what, and included insurance. So this 15% we are seeing includes the insurance. So they have catered for it. You understand what I'm saying?
You're saying it's already been anticipated, you say?
No. Currently 15% increment from them. When he was asked, how did you come to this percentage? Because petrol prices are falling down. Why haven't you reduced and you are increasing? Then he said it's not, the components are not only petroleum products. He started counting that ties, spare parts,
insurance.
They added insurance. My point is this.
I mean, we all heard
him. My point is this. The reason for which we are going on strike and saying that they should reduce it, you have already built the people. You have already passed it on to consumers. So what's the need for you to be going on strike? Unless he was lying to us. That's the point.
Now, at the end of the day, also, I have to say, this is also a fall-off from the last increment that was widely done, for which the drivers and indeed the whole motoring public thought was that high. As a result of that, the promise was made that it will be phased out. And as a result, we have it this year. There was a percentage increment the last year, and so it has now to be added on, just not to have the bulk increment. So that very understanding also needs to be there.
The transport owners and the drivers, as I indicated, are not being fair to us because before these increments, we had enjoyed some decreases up to 20% in this country. The prices were falling down. Before this increment, prices were coming down. You go to the pumps every day, now and then it was coming down. These transport owners and their drivers never reduced their fares when the prices were falling. Because, and that's what Musa Saka said, that there's a formula for increases and decreases of their fares. When it suits them, they increase. When it doesn't suit them, they don't want to come down. When prices were falling, where were they? Did they allow those of us who are applying their vehicles, did they have a rebate? Did they reduce their fares? They didn't. And I'm thinking that that's where we all failed as a nation. You, the media, we, the people who are also boarding the vehicles, we did not put pressure on them.
Okay,
so to reduce the prices.
So
now that it has gone,
so your argument is
now that it has
when there were consistent reductions, those percentage reduction.
Did not reflect.
There was no commensurate reduction in the fares as
Exactly.
well. But because, is it not because of the percentage levels of the jam? We've seen a phenomenon where over time there's been an increment. Is it 10% additional levy as a result of what has been passed by Parliament? And they have no option than to undertake the increment based on the current conditions of the economy.
I'm saying that
Cumulatively over time.
Cumulatively over time, 2%, 5%, 3%. Then when you look at it cumulatively, it has reduced by 20%. I expected them to have also reduced it.
Can I just correct a few things?
Okay, you want to correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, the NDC has a penchant for doing very bad comparisons. For instance, when we talk about in this country, anytime we talk about almost unsustainable debt GDP ratio, they'll tell you, oh, but Japan has a debt GDP ratio of 100.
Well, the best example used is even America.
Or they'll talk about Japan, which is supposed to be the second or the third largest economy in the world. Or then they'll talk about America. You know, my good friend Amalba is sitting here and quoting CNN. Look, you are comparing yourself to Saudi Arabia.
But if we also compare but if we compare our country to, let's say, some other smaller countries in Africa.
Respectfully, Saudi Arabia is the leading producer of oil. Anybody who knows the situation there, oil was almost for free. They are a net. They are the largest. They are a net exporter. We are a net importer. We are not in the same category. We certainly are not in the same category. You compare apples with apples. You don't compare apples with oranges. What is he talking about again? That the price reductions have come out of a stabilization of the cedi. And that it is, I am telling, it is factually incorrect for me to say. It is not.
Well, since August, the cedi has been a bit. I think it's been stabilizing. It's been better than it used to be before August.
I agree with you.
We all see. You didn't agree.
I agree with you, but I am saying that the price reductions today, the price reductions has it come out from? The price reductions has come from not the stabilization of the cedi. The price reduction has come from the lowering of the prices. Let us be true to the facts.
Roland, you see, if you sit on national radio like this and you say that Ghana is the only country that is not reducing petrol or fuel, I will sit here and tell you that statement is not true. And I'll point to the factual.
And you mentioned Saudi Arabia. It's understandable.
If you don't compare yourself to Saudi Arabia,
if you had made your statement that of all the net importing countries,
I correct myself. All right,
gentlemen.
If I hadn't told you that, you would have sold this idea to the people, and everybody would have gone.
Your point has been made.
You think the people don't know?
All right.
The people know.
Now, I want to make this point. I want to make this point. And before I ask the question, though, and these are the average per capita income for Saudi Arabia is $53,000 averagely. And ours is hovering around 1,500 thereabout. So the two economies are not. But it also doesn't take away the fact that as far as the percentage increments are concerned, even the bigger country are also feeling the pinch, and those net exporters of oil really have had their incomes reduced. Nigeria just went to the IMF. Is it the IMF they've gone to, or the World Bank? They've gone to the World Bank.
They haven't gone to IMF.
They have gone to the World Bank.
The World Bank. It is not an IMF program. They are going.
World Bank. World Bank. It's a World Bank.
You are talking about being factually correct. They haven't gone. They have gone to the World Bank to seek a loan. A bridge finance. They haven't gone. They are not doing an extended credit facility that we are doing. So don't confuse the people.
So what are you saying? You are saying that IMF is more evil than the World Bank.
They are not the same thing.
We have gone to the devil incarnate. Nigeria has gone to.
I haven't said that.
Can you imagine?
You are saying
they are both Bretton Woods institutions,
and they
are both institutions.
But that is also a Bretton Woods institution.
That go to assist countries that are in dying.
Their capacity. They are going for a loan. A bridge finance.
Okay,
don't confuse the people.
Nigeria
you are going for an extended credit facility. Your hands are under the.
Mr. Chairman Tejako, it's so factual that Nigeria has gone for 3.5 billion.
They are even asking. They have a.
Okay, let me ask you this. This very question has been posed to the GPRT and the GRTCC about the quantum of the increment for which it's almost as if it's a huge rip-off on the people, because you look at the 15% increment spread over huge cars that have content or passengers who number in excess of 10. At the end of the day, no matter how much expenditure you make on insurance premiums and also on fuel daily, it just doesn't add up, does it?
Let me find out.
I think we have to be realistic.
Yes.
For example, in your constituency, you have a lot more of your constituent, the University of Ghana students, or UPSA, etc., all patronizing the commercial transport.
Yes. Let me find out. Did they do it in isolation? I am informed, and I stand to be corrected, that there is a certain.
Well, they don't change their parts every day, do they?
No, I am informed that there is a Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council that approved it. And government is an integral part of that Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council.
Well, they are all in the same people, aren't they?
No. They are different stakeholders. There's a government part, there are the private operators part, and I want to believe that there are some other interested parties in this. It is like the tripartite sitting down to agree on for me, it is like the tripartite sitting down to agree on minimum wage, and then when it has been done, one turns around and begin to complain that you are ripping us off. Until and unless we are told that this increment was not approved by so to speak, was not approved by the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council.
Well, it was approved.
Of which government is an integral part. So when
approved.
they were doing it, I mean, come on, this government is beginning to look like a joke. I mean, forget my language. Maybe it might sound strong. You go and approve the thing and turn around and begin to tell the population that it's a rip-off. Government was part of the negotiation.
Well, we do understand that, but realistically, we have to look at it from the standpoint of the average motorist.
I can completely
or the
agree.
passenger.
I am on the side of the ordinary motorist.
Okay.
And I am completely on the side.
All right.
15%. When you are facing a 60% increase in your electricity, another 50% increase in your.
So you have to put on transport cost. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is
that's not a very fair argument to make.
No, that is not. On the contrary,
but that's okay.
I am saying that I am on the side of the consumer. I am on the side of the man that walks in the street. How do you expect the ordinary Ghanaian to go through all of this?
All right. What's your response to that?
I think that there should be an independent regulator, as we have a regulator for the utilities.
Well,
deal with this matters.
how incompetent then, or perhaps how incomplete then are the GRTCC and the GPR2, Pro2I, etc. They are the stakeholders, and they do this in consultation with the MPA, the Ministry of Transport, and the various stakeholders we have, even along the state lines. The TUC is also involved.
It was because in the past, the utility services were ripping off Ghanaians. That's why the regulator was there, has been put in place.
The PURT
to protect consumers and also regulate the activity of the regulators. If we feel as a nation that the vehicle owners are not being fair to us, then I'm of the view that we need a regulator in that sector too, an independent regulator in that sector, who will determine what goes into the pricing and the fares.
An independent regulator controlled by who?
Controlled by who? The law
appointed by a law.
The
okay.
law
Constituted by a law.
It's an act of parliament that would have spelled out all these things. Because you begin to wonder, this 15%, what has gone into it? And see, we are on a circus again. People who said that the reason for which they increased it up to 15% was because of part of it was because of the health, the
energy levy.
No, the insurance that has been increased, are now saying that they will not go to work and they will be on strike because insurance has been increased. When indeed you have catered for it in your 50%. So if there's a regulator and we are clear in our minds that what the components that go into determine the fares are all known and spelled out. For instance, for petrol, we know the components. Free on board, we know the cedi and dollar relationship. We know the price of fuel in the international market. We know the components. What are the components for this? We are unaware. Tomorrow, it is because of spare parts. The following day, it is because the dollar has gone up. The next time, so we need to establish the parameters and
Okay.
know when and how we can increase first.
The Electoral Commission says it will continue to use established procedures to read the register of ineligible voters. In a statement signed by the Director of Public Affairs at the Electoral Commission, it assured that whatever multiple registrations that are detected and all this due process will be applied to ensure a cleaner register ahead of this year's general elections is maintained. The EC outlined the following processes due to deduplicate multiple names from the electoral roll, a matching of fingerprints by automatic fingerprint identification system, review of reports by adjudication review committee made up of head office directors of the commission, selected staff, etc. And what do you make of this? We know this is also coming on the back of the minority in parliament disagreement with Mr. Jakon. I'm talking to you about the number of people that need to authenticate whether somebody is eligible to be registered or not. And in itself, the IEA also coming up to say, for all the things that we're doing, we're not just not doing it right. We don't have the sensitization in place. We just don't seem to be having all the transient structures in place to give confidence to the average voter that all is well for the next elections, which indeed is taking place a month before the usual one that we would have.
Well, let me just say something and then I'll get...
You're taking me back. I don't have much of the time. That's why I didn't allow you to do that.
I just want to say that I want to maintain that it is I think it is disingenuous for all of us to sit here and begin to blame anybody. When government sits in a meeting and says, I approve this. Today,
they're talking about the first.
Yeah, today...
and so you don't think an independent is important?
I mean, in this life, in this world, I have come from a regulatory background, but they will tell you that the best regulation is self-regulation. I want to believe that if we have a properly deregulated market, and I think that is what all of us are striving to attain, when we have a properly deregulated market, the markets will determine all of these things. In all the other places there, but if the market determines, people will put up the right first, and then we can go.
Let's talk on the Electoral Commission then.
Very well. I'll place a caveat and say that I am not on top of all the electoral issues. But for me, it is worrying.
You're on top.
Well,
you're on top.
For me, it is worrying
right.
that it is beginning to look like right from the start, it appears that everybody is beginning to say there seems to be a problem. I heard that the IEA stated categorically that it doesn't appear that we are ready for the election in November. Indeed, as a member of parliament, I have not seen anything come up, because if we are going to have the election in November, there must be some amendments to the electoral law. I have not seen anything come up to that effect. I am informed, for instance, that the Electoral Commission was at Parliament, and many of the things they were doing, they said we'll have to cut back because of budget. We cannot do this because we don't have the budget. Sometime in March, they are going to have to do a limited registration, and they cannot do it in all the polling stations because they don't have enough funding to do it. So they are going to cluster.
Meaning what? Let's say for a constituency, people would have to convert.
Yes. And then, you know, there has been in the last year, there has been a raging battle on the
names.
On the
names in the register.
Yeah, on the register itself. That it is indeed, as far as I'm concerned, the Electoral Commission admits that to all intents and purposes, there are major defaults with the register.
Not only the Electoral Commission, indeed, all the political parties do admit.
Yeah.
It's only the modus operandi by which they need to correct this that's different.
So this is where I am coming from.
That doesn't make it a good argument from you, does it?
Oh, it does. It actually does. That the operator, the election management board, is saying that yes, there is something wrong with the register.
But we all do.
It is only the way that we want to handle it that we disagree with you. We think we can do this. We think we can do this. We think we can do that. Today, this is the first time I'm saying this, that they are going to do a couple of things. We have heard and talked about an audit. We have, if we're not going to do a new register, there was going to be an audit. If we're not going to do this, there was going to be a this. This is where I said I am not on top of these issues. For the first time, I'm hearing things about matching fingerprints by automatic fingerprint identification system. Will it work? Does it work? Will it solve the problem? You see, I want to believe that the basis of elections is the electoral list, the electoral register. To the extent that all of us will agree that it is, the electoral list is okay, I believe that after elections, nobody will raise issues. But if they don't do the things that are necessary to bring the comfort to all the political parties, I'm by no means saying that they must pander to any political, anyone on the divide. But I am saying that they must ensure that at the end of the day, on the 7th of November, when we are all going to vote, there is a certain amount of certainty in the minds of all of us that we have a reasonably fair list. That is not a perfect list. Okay. So if these things they are outlining are the things that will bring the certainty, that will bring the comfort to all of us, then so be it.
Okay. Perhaps also it could be that we're just putting the cart before the horse. Because realistically, Codeo has also come out to say, well, the IEM may be pointing out serious issues with public education, even just prior to this limited registration expected to take place in March. But the thing is, we're again far off from the election. But we have precedents. In 2012, we didn't do the right things. And the time caught up with us. We just didn't put the right systems in place. And we saw the difficulties that we went through as a country post the election. And
the EC has learned from those things. For instance,
the EC told you that.
Oh no, but when you are a political watcher, you will hear. For instance, the EC says that we are now going to send 2 biometric verification machines to each police station. That's the lesson I'm talking about. So they've learned their lessons and they are putting in the right structures. The Nigeria example that my colleagues on the MPP have been copiously quoting came as a result of this exercise, the deduplication.
And the EC indeed says that they already been implementing something of the sort.
The Nigerian people did not go for a new register. It was this deduplication process. So I'm sure the EC is on the right path. The EC has come out with a calendar. This limited registration, never in our history have we ever done limited registration in all police stations. It's always, because limited registration per its name means limited registration. It means that it's not for everybody. And so you can't open all the police stations.
But you should agree that we're not in ordinary times.
And I'm saying that
times are not ordinary for us.
You can't open all the police stations.
And we need extraordinary measures to tackle the difficulties and the concerns
but certain things don't
change.
The
political parties, and the other stakeholders have with the election.
Certain things don't change. My coming to this studio is still coming to this studio. This studio has not changed. Certain things don't change. Limited registration is limited registration. Limited registration does not involve the entire nation. So you can't open all the police stations. And so, when you were making your submissions, I didn't interject. I am also making my submission.
Okay, please do make your submission.
So, with limited registration, you put together a cluster of police stations and then designate one place as the venue. So, that is also on track, and the EC is on track. My only challenge is stampeding the EC.
By who? Who's
I
stampeding?
heard Dankwa Institute giving ultimatums, fatwas. Look.
Fatwas?
Yes. And warning EC not to do certain things. They must be told in plain language that this country does not belong to them. There's an institution that the Constitution has put in place to do these things for us. And so we should allow that institution to work. We all went for a forum organized by the EC. And the general view was that no new register. That was a general view at that forum. So if you couldn't, convince the people at that forum for a new register, you don't just come out and then start issuing fatwas, threats to people. I think that these threats, a colleague of mine said, national security should be on them on these threats. This country must remain intact after 7th November. We can't go in this country when we are going to elections, then there's tension. People stockpile rice, food. People even stockpile water.
And you're saying there should not be any apprehension like that?
Why should we?
We shouldn't have that such apprehension.
In some countries, when there's election, you don't even know. People sit in their rooms and even text the elections.
But realistically,
why should we have a group of people who are always on the heels of this country putting pressure on us?
Mr. Maliba, realistically, you look at the way we conducted the last election, to the point that even by November, it was now within the period that the EC had made available, published register.
It was not even
to the political parties. No, I know that because I have been a media person for all this while, covered a number of the elections, and the last one, indeed, some of the things just didn't go well. The Electoral Commission, headed by Sherman, convened a press conference, showed images of people that the commission themselves had concluded could be minors,
yes,
but said based on what the law says and the way they were registered, they could do nothing about. So from this standpoint, and as media people, we are stakeholders. The electorate out there are also stakeholders. Those who monitor the election are stakeholders. You, the political parties, are stakeholders. We know what the problems are. Once we know what the problems are, would you say the steps that have been taken by the body that is supposed to supervise are the right steps? The steps that will build consensus and really have been acknowledged by everybody?
Roland, and I've said to you that the EC has learned its lessons. One is what I told you. Let me tell you another one.
Tell me.
Another one is that this time, the electoral officer himself, whether it's a polling or returning officer or whatever, the one managing the registration process, can object to somebody who comes to register. In the past, it was the political party agents alone. But now, the official from EC can also object when he sees that somebody is a minor. That's an innovation. You also heard, you heard it, that the EC is calling professors to leave their high
offices in the universities
and come and be polling station agents. I was on record to say that for lawyers, they shouldn't bring weak-tainted lawyers if they are going for professionals. You know that. They are bringing in professionals to be polling agents. But somebody like me should not be one of them.
Officers.
Whatever it is. But that's the innovation I'm talking about. They've learned their lessons. So let's allow them to do their work. We can be pointing out to them some areas that we think we are not comfortable with. But to make it as if we now want to go over and take over their work, I don't think that Charlotte, when she comes here, will take over your work. Don't also attempt to take over her work. And when we allow the institutions to work, I am of the view that that is how this country can move forward. But you have a group of people who always want things to be done.
Now, which group are you talking about?
The MPP. This register we have, which people brought that register? It was the MPP. They said we want biometric register. When we finished the register, they said we should include a biometric. Gabriel, you know it. Before we finish, they said we should bring a biometric verification machine. We brought all those things. They lost. Now, what has changed for them to now be called
you were at the court, and indeed you were explaining the issues to the media because as part of the legal team. But at the end of the day, even within the processes, the procedures in court or the hearings in court, in which we're told that the outcome 5-4, whatever it is that we're talking about, there were serious issues that were contentious enough for us to think that it was not all that sacrosanct.
And those things too have been addressed. The Supreme Court said that the voter register, a copy, should be made to the political parties far ahead. The last time it was just two weeks to the registration. It was not even 2 weeks. It was to the political parties. The EC says this time around they will give the register to the people ahead
way in advance.
So there are innovations. I don't know what these people are about.
Okay.
You see, it is very convenient. It is very convenient for Amalba and people like him to always say that no, it is the law, and it is institutional, and it is this, and it is this. But you see, the reality is that playing out, there are all these huge challenges. Look, we are supposed to be having a limited registration. Who is hearing about it? Who is talking about who is eligible to go and do it? You want to wait 3 or 4 days before, and then you begin to talk about it. First and foremost, have they even recruited? Are we hearing any announcements? So people who have lost their cards will go back there and go and register and create more problems for the register. And when you talk about it, they say that you want to control. You want to control who? You want to control what? I am saying that just last Thursday or Friday, Electoral Commission was in a meeting in Parliament. Meeting. I want to believe it was a subsidiary legislation or special budget committee. The clear message they are sending out is that they are strapped. So you see, you may have the text, you may have the rule, you may have the CI. But if you don't have the wherewithal to do it, then we will be repeating the same mistakes that were repeated. You know, it is convenient for Mama to say all the time we have had a limited registration and it has been done this way. When we did it that way, what happened? That is the result we saw in 2012. So what is wrong about we asking for an improvement in the electoral process? Maybe left to some people alone, we should still be using the black boxes.
That the status quo should remain?
Yes.
That's not a fair comment.
Nobody
because
has said that.
society is
a
dynamic.
A moment ago, he's saying that it is us that asked for the biometric. So what is wrong with it? Tomorrow, if there is a better technology, I think it behoves on us. If you will not talk about it, ask for the political tradition I belong to, we will ask that we should be abreast. Because, you see, for me, elections is such an emotive matter. The consequences of it are so huge that we must ensure that we get it right. And I'm saying that is all we are asking for. To the extent that we are all happy, we are all agreeable, that to all intents and purposes, it is transparent, it is free, it is fair. Everybody will be happy. Do we want to go through these recriminations every time?
The problem I'm saying is that...
What do you make of... Wait. What do you make of Dr. Charles Wekubrobe? Is he still a member of your party?
They have suspended him.
Anybody
who talks against
who keeps telling you that you should please get on with it and try to make sure you conduct your campaigns and convince the ordinary voter that you remain the best alternative to the Jamahama-led administration.
I completely agree with him. Yes, I agree. We must get on with it.
You partially do agree.
But it doesn't mean, look, you are going into an election. The base document, the document you are going to use for the election.
Your textbook.
Yeah. I mean, the fundamental document
has flaws.
It's flawed.
It's not flawed. It has flaws.
Has major flaws, and all of us are agreeing. So you don't want us to talk about it.
They have major flaws, or they have flaws.
Oh, they have major flaws.
These people never cease to amaze me. You see,
they have major flaws. Who is not admitting that they are major flaws?
Well, I think all of us are admitting that we have names that are not supposed to be on the register.
Do you know that as we speak today, even after the Supreme Court ruling, the NPP still feels that it won the 2012 election?
Well, why not? Based on proceedings in court, they have that right to say.
So they still feel that they won the 2012 elections. The question is on which register? On the register they say is faulty.
Amalba.
Is it on that register?
Or
it is on a new register that came and left?
This point you are raising is moot.
See,
this point you are raising is moot.
Of all the things he has said this morning, there's one I agree with him.
Which is
that the EC is not educating the citizens enough on this limited registration. Because I can give out some information which most people don't know. For instance, if you lost your ID card, you don't need to go for this limited registration. But because the ID card is a multi-purpose document, people go use it for.
So you may see people that may go there because thinking,
and you will find your name twice in the register. Now, when this duplication, your name will be removed. This education is
so you're saying these.
So that one, I agree with him.
The content of the message that needs
the attitude, which is that if we don't do it this way, we won't agree. No, it's what I don't agree.
If we don't do
who
it
is saying? Who is saying?
Your attitude.
If we don't do it this way, we won't agree. No.
You people.
Oh, but if you got, we will still be using the black boxes. If it was left to you alone,
that's not what we are saying.
If it was left to your tradition alone, we will still be using the black boxes.
That's not what we are saying.
If it was left to the NDC alone, we will still be using the black boxes.
The non-opaque boxes.
Yes, and
they are not black.
They
are not black. Non-opaque.
Oh, it was. Were you grown? It was a black.
Oh yes, I wasn't old enough to register, but I was old enough to know.
In before the register. So I mean, come on. I mean, I am very proud of what my tradition has achieved in the process of moving the electoral processes forward.
True. And indeed, it's been acknowledged countrywide that all of you, both parties, if I want to be a lot more diplomatic, have contributed to the democratic process.
As for me, I am saying that if it was left to Amalba in the NDC, we would be using the black.
But there's this other one that is currently before Parliament, for which we have the minority as a caucus not agreeing to. That, for example, if you want to go and vote, if you want to go and register, you need the law. They are proposing that at least you have 5 people who are voters, okay, who just need to go and authenticate. Oh, this
you
gentleman
can authenticate for 5 people.
5 people.
Okay, yes, a registered voter.
It used to
registered
be
voter.
2.
Yes.
Now,
so what has happened?
I think that is even where the MPP, if the MPP actually go on that tangent, I will support them. Yes. Okay. Because that one is open for abuse, to be honest.
The 5.
No, to one person.
Yes.
Authenticating
yes,
for 5.
Authenticating just for any other person.
Yes.
Because for me,
but you,
the issue.
But you have the agents there. Why should you be a lot more?
No, what it means is that I, a registered voter, can actually go to Burkina Faso and come and say, I know this people, so register and it will be done.
Is that what you do?
That's the mean. Is that what I do? Is what I'm saying?
No, I mean, is that what the parties do? That's what I wanted. I didn't say you personally, because you are not at the border town. You are not at the border town.
He's at the border town.
You see?
No, he's not at the border town.
So that one is open for abuse, and I think that
Amaba must be telling the good people of this country something that he alone knows and does.
That is open for abuse, and I think that area must be looked at.
Okay.
That just one voter, registered voter, can ask that 5 people, I know them, let them register. I think that is open for abuse.
No useful. How do you say it in court? Nothing further to add. I think Amaba
he's
opened the Pandora's box, and he mentioned, I go to Burkina Faso. Maybe Amaba does that.
You see now. You see, they don't like honest people.
I said maybe. I choose my words advisedly.
But realistically, if by the current processes that we have, the Electoral Commission would have to be compelled to do certain things beyond IPAC. How can that be done? Is it only through excessive pressure from the media, etc., through these mouthpieces?
Oh, well, yes. I mean,
because sometimes it looks as if the Electoral Commission will not budge to a lot of the concerns.
It is worrying sometimes, and their claim to independence is it's worrying. I want to believe that ultimately they have pandered to what has been said. Sometimes my view is that it is like no, you won't teach us how to do our work. But as for me, I want to say that we must continue to say it. We must continue to do it, because I don't believe that we are doing it for parochial interest. We are doing it in the very broadly to secure the essence of an election: free, transparent, and fair.
Okay, I have this one here we have to tackle lastly before we leave. A member of the pressure group Occupy Ghana, Isan Koma, is accusing the NDC government of continuously violating the country's procurement laws. According to him, the practice goes contrary to government's repeated pronouncement that it is fighting corruption. His comments come on the back of moves by government to have Smarties refund some 1.5 million Ghana cedis paid to them in excess for a rebranding project they undertook for the Ministry of Transport for 116 Metro Mass buses at the cost of some 3.6 million Ghana cedis. I have to start with you.
Oh, yes. See, our claim that we are fighting corruption has been corroborated by the Transparency International. So it's not Esankuma who will say that it is contrary.
What did the Transparency International say?
What did they say?
Oh, perception has dropped.
Okay.
You know that. It's
The recent report, the last week.
Yes, last week. It's common knowledge. And so it is not Esankuma who will tell us that we are doing something contrary to what we think. Indeed, the Transparency International says that we are walking our talk. But the Smarties issue, yes, the Attorney General indicated that there must be some, refund of some monies. Smarties and the Attorney General have entered into an agreement for them to refund those monies. I have heard somewhere, but I'm not privy to it, that some people, some officials, in the process of procuring or doing the rebranding, had violated the Procurement Act. As a lawyer, I will not allow my politics to blind me. I think that if there are such people, they should be prosecuted. If there are people who have violated our laws, I don't think that I'll sit here to want to protect them because I'm speaking for the government. That must be a matter that is to be investigated, and if they are found culpable, they must be punished. I agree with that. But this is not to say that because this has not been done, it means that our fight against corruption is not real. We have been in this country and we've seen the president himself ordered some investigations into National Service, NHIS. This surely is a clear indication that this is a president who is ready to fight corruption. But on this matter, if it is true that some people have sidestepped the Procurement Act, I think that they should be investigated.
You see, NTC and communicators like Amama never cease to amaze me. They speak from both sides of their mouth.
And in what?
When last year they thought in their thinking that the TI report was damning, they were the ones who were here in the same seat and say, after all, who is TI?
No, nobody said that.
Today, in their mind, they think that there is some good thing for them. They go on and organize a press conference to say, yeah, let the whole world hear us. TI says we are doing well. Indeed, I want to believe that it is because they are not reading, they are suffering from a selective amnesia. They want to pick and choose. But, you know, Amamba and his co will sit on radio, on the media, and talk about this is a president that is fighting corruption. I think that it is such a travesty that you go and give the money to the man, and when the Auditor General finds out that this is what you have done, you run, and in fact, initially, their first response is to defend it. Because at that time, the then Deputy Attorney General said that there was no case. Ghana had no case. And then when the full force of it breaks on them, then the Attorney General goes back, the same Attorney General goes back to court and says that we were duped. When you were signing the document, where were you? When you virtually open the stables for the horses to go out, and then you begin to cry and say, I am looking for the horses. Where are the horses? Let us bring back the horses. So in your looking for the horses, you want all of us to sing your praise. When you were opening the stable, when you were giving the money to Wyoming, when you were paying all those judgment debts, didn't you know the law? When you were signing this smarty deal Was there no law? Did the law come post the signing of the deal? And indeed, what Ankuma is saying is that I'm not a lawyer, he's a lawyer. That there's a law operating in this country, an AFRC, that when you have found out that somebody has gone contrary to the regulation, they must pay 3 times. Indeed, what we are hearing is that the Honorable Attorney General, in her report, said that is what must happen.
The Attorney General did not. That was
I'm saying we are hearing.
Yes.
So we are even saying that let us see the Attorney General's report. But if the Attorney General forgot, we are saying, I think what Occupy Ghana is saying is that, Attorney General, you did only 50% of the work. Go the full hog.
Make reference to the laws and
Make
try
reference
to
to
apply
the law. Make reference to the operating law. You understand me? Make reference to the operating law. But you see me, when we talk about this Smarties deal, I don't. This is peanuts. The buses themselves, and I keep talking about it every time I have opportunity. This government went to China and bought those buses at an average cost of $200,000. My understanding, what I hear, is that when they passed it, they realized that no, there's something wrong with this, and went back to the Chinese and said, we wanted to cancel this contract. And the Chinese said, no, you have signed a contract. If you abrogate, we will go to court. How can we be visited with such an iniquity? To buy these Chinese buses for $200,000? I think that I will suggest to Occupy Ghana to begin to look into not just the branding of the buses, but the bus themselves. The contracts, the loan, they took $40 million to buy the 200 buses. I think that Occupy Ghana must begin to look into it.
You don't even want anything good that comes into this country. So I'm not surprised. Because these buses are supposed to perform a duty, a responsibility that is important.
But I have heard him since the agreement was brought to Parliament for the president.
You see,
he was saying
it is a shame.
You know what? In law, 1,000 suspicions do not amount to an evidence. You can be suspicious. The whole village can even think that I'm a thief. But if there's no evidence, unless one day they catch me with a foul. So you can sit here and be suspecting that monies were used to purchase buses but were not properly done. I would have expected you to by now, you said you didn't start advocating for this today. That's what he said. By now.
And it's true, he's been on this program to say it.
That's what I'm saying. It means that he's had ample time enough. By now, should have been producing documents. And then give you one. Give me one. This is how it's supposed to be. But when you just come on radio and TV and you are doing this, I'm telling you, 1,000 suspicions do not amount to evidence.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I will go to. I think that there was supposed to be.
But you didn't know.
I am saying that
because I remember
there was.
I remember.
I will go on this tangent.
I remember.
Don't worry.
I remember when you were on this program and you raised this very issue.
I want to believe that there must be.
You said the average prices of the buses on the markets.
I want to believe that there must be a value for money audit. We will go back to it.
That's what I'm saying. Bring evidence.
Show. Anyway, you are a member of Parliament, so you can raise questions and raise those queries as well.
You shouldn't be talking that way.
No,
why shouldn't I? I can be talking that way.
And I think that it is.
You are a member of Parliament, so you must have much evidence, information.
I think it is unfortunate that people talk
like this.
It is convenient for somebody like Amaba.
You cannot talk like that.
These people don't want any good thing to come into this country. This is such a foul statement. This is such a foul statement.
What you have proposed everything.
There is something called value for money. If Amalba's brother who lives in America sends him $300,000 or $400,000 to build a house,
I'm the only person who lives in Accra. All my people are back in the north. Nobody's in America.
I am saying assuming, and Amalba,
I'm not from a rich family like yours, where your children are.
Let's not get there. All right.
Well, okay. You see.
All right. So you see. Let's look at the last issue. Let's look at the last issue. Let's look at the last issue and then let's go.
I'm not rich as you are. I'm not rich as you are.
The subject of the Fulani herdsmen in Agogo, I think we need to take a look at it. It even got to a boiling point in which the Ashanti Region Police Commander threatened to arrest a member of parliament. And
It's
just
a
yesterday,
shame. It's a shame.
we had the news trending that at least 2 farmers have been killed. It depends on which of the newspapers you're reading this morning. You may see 2 or 1. A local farmer has been killed by a Fulani herdsman. Now, let's look at this dispassionately. How do we deal with this? It's been a raging issue. For example, we've had Fulanis who are in Ghana by Ghanaians. So, based on what our constitution says, they also have a claim to whatever rights that they are. But they have genuine ones who are also not Ghanaians. But also, even if they are Ghanaians, the activities are inhibiting enough.
Precisely. I think that the essence of all of this is resides in the last statement you made. Where your rights end is where another person's begin. Let us assume that they are all here and they are all Ghanaians. It does not give them the right to let loose their cattle to graze people on people's farms. I think that is fundamental, that is core. They owe a duty of care. Is that what you say in the law? They owe it to themselves to ensure that somebody's labor is not damaged by in the attempt to also earn their keep. I think that is fundamental. I want to put aside they are Ghanaians, they are not Ghanaians, they are this. But I want to believe that this problem resides in some very bad drought that came up in the Sahelian region a couple of years ago. That drove all the herdsmen with their herds into the savannah and the forest belts several years ago. I think about 10 or 12 years ago. Okay. And then because in this country, even though there are the laws, we don't keep to the laws. These guys just drove their heads, and out of compassion, a la President John Dramani Mahama, they came in, and today they have become a menace. They have become a complete menace. I have no difficulty in anybody seeking to earn their keep. But in the process of earning your keep, you do not destroy somebody's livelihood and begin to threaten them. Today we are hearing reports that they have shot and killed 2 people. They have absolutely no right to do so, even if they were Ghanaians. Even if they were Ghanaians. They have absolutely, and the good people of Agogo, I have their back 100%. You don't come into, you don't take my hospitality for granted. You don't come into my house and abuse me. Sometimes there's a pretext that, and this chief allowed us, and this landowner allowed us. Yes, if somebody allowed you, they gave you a specific place. It didn't mean that even if the chief allowed you, that the whole of the plain was for you. And I want to think that government must do something about it. We have been hearing this. There has been Operation Cowlight, there has been Operation this, there has been Operation this. I think time has come for the law of the land to work. Earlier it is done, the better. But before I finish, because I probably will not, you see, it is unfortunate. I tell you, MDC, every day they want to create, they want to make a distinction.
Going back to something that we have finished.
I was making a hypothetical case. You know, it is convenient. These guys, their stock in trade is to divide all the people. You are the rich people. You are the poor. We are the poor people. We are the this.
This is just.
I think it's. Oh no, it is.
You
see. Let me tell you. The Bible says that it is out of the abundance of the heart.
It was just in jest.
It is out of the abundance. So my children which of my
I
put you to speak. Which of my children?
I said it is.
So he was just teasing you.
Now
no, it is their stock in trade.
No.
They are is to just divide people. These are the rich people. These are the poor people. These are the northerners. These are the southerners. These are the this. These are the this. You don't build a country like this.
Okay, we'll fed you. Now, I will look at the so-called Fulani case as a conflict as to the use of land. You have nomads who move from one place to another, finding grazing places for their cattle. Then you have sedentary farmers who have their farms. If we are able to look at it from this way, that there's a conflict between the use cattle rearers who want to have their animals grazing, and farmers who also want to use the land for their products to produce foodstuff, then we'll be able to solve it. What would we do? What we will do is to say that we'll demarcate the land. This is for farms.
Their own land.
We'll demarcate the land.
We're going to demarcate the lands of the locals.
Let me tell you, there are some portions of the land which are not used for farming. You can confine the animals there. But this archaic way of grazing cattle, moving from one place to another, is gone past. Let's understand.
So you're saying that's how we need to streamline it.
We have to do that and confine them to certain areas and leave the farmers to be at one place. Off on top of my head, anytime there's such a clash, I lay the blame at the doorsteps of the Fulani herdsmen, because the farms don't move. It's the cattle that move. And the cattle would have moved into the farm. It is not the farm that moved to the cattle. So when that happens, straight ahead, you can lay blame at the Fulani man. But what we don't also know is that there are some Ghanaians who are cattle owners, but only have Fulani men taking care of them. Well, so they are actually Ghanaian cattle owners and not the Fulani people. So if we are able to look at it from what I have said, where we look at grazing lands which are separate from the farms, we'll be able to resolve this matter. Yes.
But as we touch, as we just leave our last comment, Mr. Chaman, the thing is, how would I feel? I have my local authority or area, or traditional area. I have people who come to evade, and how I say they come to, invade the place? They come to invade the place. Whether they are grazing in a separate or demarcated land or not, it doesn't call for them being there because they are not supposed to be there in the first place.
Well, again, I want to agree that
is it too sensitive an issue?
It's not a sensitive issue at all. In this country, I want to believe that there are clear laws on land use, very clear laws on land use, and who owns land. You know what we hear? They say every day is that it is a certain chief. It is this chief who allowed us. The chief might allow you into a certain area, but the lawyers will tell you the land does not belong to the chief.
He's just a custodian.
He's a custodian. The traditional society, the land belongs to families. The families have given them out for various things. Yeah. Even if a family gives
they vested the interest of the lands in the chief.
Absolutely. If the family gives out the land to you, whether the cattle belong to a Ghanaian or belong to the Fulani, they gave a portion of that land to you, and you must ensure that you confine your cattle to that portion.
Is it not possible that even some big stakeholders, even from Agogo, own some of the cattle?
I can agree, but it doesn't take away the right of the ordinary. You talk about big. It doesn't take away the right of the farmer that owns half an acre. It does not take away the right of the farmer that owns just half an acre.
Sure.
It is just a lawlessness.
How do we need the police to deal with this?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look.
Because
it
brought on the lines of criminality.
The travesty is that somebody steals one chicken and you haul him to court and jail him for 3 years. Somebody is perpetrating crime.
But it's not the same issue, because we're talking about crime undertaken on the lines of a conflict situation. Yeah. And for example, let's say you go to Bunkrugu. It's a feud between two families or two chieftaincy families, and you don't go arresting people, you don't solve the problem, do you? Because then the scenarios are not the same. The scenarios are not the same, are they?
Ultimately, what is happening in Bumprugu, they are killing themselves.
For sure.
In Agogo, they are killing
but
themselves.
Rather, you need a truce. You need to make sure you bring peace.
I mean, you must establish a truce. But you see, if you only establish a truce and you don't deal with the substantive issue, you are creating a template or you are just fermenting for another one to happen, because you see, then you bring a certain impunity in the people that I can do whatever I like and nothing will happen to me. I think that this is where we have gotten to with this Agogo thing.
I think
you must isolate the criminal aspects from the chieftaincy aspect that you are talking about. Where crime has been committed, you must allow the laws to deal with it. So I think the point he's making is that if in this conflict situation people have perpetrated crime, you don't cover up because it is a Fulani issue, it is a chieftaincy issue. Leave the chieftaincy issue aside and then pick out the criminal aspect and deal with those who engage in criminality. That also sends signal to other people who want to go into those activities.
Deterrent.
That's a deterrent. So I think that's the point.
Thank you very much. And thanks for helping me do the discussions this morning. I'm very much grateful. And what he said, I think, I also took it as just in jest.
It's in jest. It's in jest.
Yes.
You know, Honorable is my...
Because I will say that you come from... You look good. Okay.
Me?
All right.
I come from Kumasi, Abbas Park, Ashanti Town. I want to...
My guest for the morning, Emmanuel Chamantinge
aspirational,
Jako
that
is
is
Member of Parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. And I've had also in the studio a member of the NDC's legal and communication team, Abraham Amaliba. He's also a legal practitioner as well. And thanks for joining me, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Okay, we're taking a break. When we come back, Miss G, we'll be here with a lot more entertainment. And as always, entertainment is brought to you by Airtel. Do stay on. We'll be right back.